Hello, and welcome to Strategic Leadership. I'm Paul Gilbert, and today's episode is going to be really exciting. We're going to be talking about some different kinds of strategies to address some different kinds of issues than we've addressed before on this channel. But let me just take a moment. I always like to start with the why question. Why do we have this channel? And the real reason is if you have any organization that has an important mission, it's very important to think about leadership and management and strategy so that we are about those things in the most effective way possible. Because if the mission is important, you really need to give it your full and best effort. And today, I'm very, very excited to welcome my good friend, Mary Beth O'Dell. She is the Director of Park and Recreation in Kettering, Ohio. And I've known Mary Beth for many years. We taught together on the Revenue Development and Management School at Ogilvy for a bunch of years. That's really where we got to know each other. We co-taught stuff. We met frequently, and it was just great because Mary Beth is filled with so many great ideas. I mean, she's really like one of the thought leaders in the park and recreation field nationally, and is always on the cutting edge of various issues. So, I'm just so excited to have you, Mary Beth. Welcome to the channel.
Well, thanks, Paul. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for all those wonderful accolades. I don't ever see myself as that. Just doing the people's work, as my husband always says.
And that's great, but you're doing the people's work in an amazing way. So today we're talking about something a little bit different that we haven't covered before in this channel. And Mary Beth knows 1,000% more about this subject than I do. but it's really about prevention and how with park and recreation agencies, they are kind of central to communities. And communities are important. The world is made up of communities. So if you have communities right, then the nation works well, the world works well. Like that, the community is the unit that is important in any place. And she has some great material on prevention of behavioral health problems. Tell us a little bit about what behavioral health problems are to kind of start us off.
Yeah. So, Paul, let me frame this up and put some context to this, so it makes a little bit more sense as we dive into it. Our intergovernmental relationships with our city schools and our city government and with our businesses is pretty strong. So that's context we have to understand as I walk through what we're doing and how prevention came into our realm here in Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts. We've been working with our school district. I've been here 20 years, and we created a partnership between the schools. It's an advisory board called Partners for Healthy Youth. That partnership, or that advisory board, started in 2003. So what has happened over those 17 years or 17, 18 years is that we have become schooled in some of the behavioral management programs that the schools have been using. And all of the people that are watching today know that most school districts in the country they're moving toward SEL programs and behavior modification programs that help with teaching kids how to be good kids that ultimately be strong adults. So we've been working with that, and I'm going to show you some slides in a little bit. So 17, 18 years of being immersed in this behavioral modification with the schools, and Partners for Healthy Youth have created that. Lots of initiatives over the years that we've created, but we're really now on the cusp of really changing what Parks, Recreation, Cultural Arts are doing by actually taking the behavioral modifications in the schools and applying those to our products. And I use products, and that's like programs, but I consider products as the key. And you talk about leadership, but in a community, our ability to provide strong products and services makes us who we are, right? It's how we connect. So prevention isn't treatment. So prevention is providing support systems that you can deliver to children, youth. But as I move through here, Paul, what we're trying to do is through our park and recreation, cultural arts products and services, products mostly, we're going to be introducing those protective factors, some protective factors that you need to give children so that they can develop and mature into functioning adults. So prevention for us is way before treatment. And I think that what happens is that, oh my gosh, we have a whole community, we have a neighborhood that's, we have alcohol, we have drug problems, we have lots of those things. But within that neighborhood, there's lots of kids that are still okay. And I think that we profile too much communities by police statistics. But if you talk to our police department and even our counselors at our schools, there's lots of kids that live in environments like that, but that are reaching out, that know that when I'm at school, this is safe. Or when I'm at the rec center, I really feel safe. And because the adults around me treat me differently than I'm treated at home. The challenge with it is that the environment they go back to is the same environment. So to develop those protective factors in those children is very important. And I'm going to get to that as we move through these slides. So that's the problem. That's the issue.
So I just think this is like a cool moment to stop for just a second, because a lot of people's perception of park and recreation is just kind of some fun stuff. You've got some athletics and you've got some green space and whatever. And it seems like a nice to have function in a community. But what you're doing with park and recreation as your tool is really has deep societal impacts and long-term impacts. I mean, you're not doing this for the impact tomorrow. You're trying to influence these children so that they have a better life, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road, that they are on a path to have, a productive life, a good life, have good health, have good relationships with those around them. And as we talk about strategy, part of the focus of this channel is strategy. This is some really cool strategic thinking, because strategy is all about, it's like a chess game. You're trying to think 3 or 4 steps ahead. Don't just deal with what's immediately in front of you, but think about where things are going to go. What's the cause and effect of various things over time? And that's exactly what you're doing here by thinking about how to build a stronger community in the future, how to help these individuals, these children have good, positive lives. So I'll let you go there, but I just thought this is some cool stuff and some deep stuff that most people don't think about park and recreation as doing this. I mean, you're interacting with schools and other institutions within your community, but you are an integral piece of this whole.
Yeah, and that's absolutely, Paul. So I'm going to thank you for that. And you're also framing this up to continue on as we go through this. But this is prevention services. Prevention services are, and you actually just said this, are planned sequences of culturally appropriate science-driven strategies. And it's to facilitate change in behavior. And so you pretty much nailed that. And that note is that we're not clinicians. And I think that's where we need to know what lane we're in. We're not, it's not that we're in silos, but our ability to be a prevention service is what we do best. So this is PBIS for the school district. We are Firebirds. Firebirds is like, I guess the mascot for the school district, but we are Firebirds. They're responsible, they're respectful, and they're safe. So those are the 3 words that the school district uses: responsible, respectful, and safe. And then say a youth is acting out, you're going to ask, and maybe they're having a conflict with each other. Instead of breaking it up and say, hey, how are you demonstrating, how are you being respectful? So what you do, you turn it back on, you use that language, responsible, respectful, and safe. Are you being safe? Are you being responsible into any kind of issue? Or if you have a bigger group, you want to talk about responsible, we want to be responsible youth. So these are just words that the community has embraced. And what we did, we are Kettering. We kept the same words. This is for our basketball program, safe, responsible, respectful. So we took the exact same words the schools use, and we called it We Are Kettering, and we use the same 3 words. So right now, what we are doing is we're creating a community language. So if a kid's at school, he hears it. He comes to the rec center, he hears it. He goes to our arts center, he hears it. He goes to our environmental center, he hears it. So all of a sudden we have a community voice. So
that is awesome.
Huh?
I said, that is awesome. Because you could very easily have a bunch of different places. They'd all have their own little things. Some of them wouldn't have anything. And it doesn't reinforce the message. And it also doesn't say, basically, here are the standards for being, a productive member of our community.
Right. This is where we are now. And the reason why we kind of shifted from the 40 developmental assets to PBIS is because the schools, and typically, a kid is only in school 5 or 6 hours. And now with COVID, I don't know how long they're in school, but the reality is they're in the community longer. And because we have a pretty good penetration rate with the use with all of our programs, we have tons of opportunities to keep that voice going. So we now will be using this in our camps. And so it's kind of perfect with COVID because the Kettering schools just went from virtual to back to the classroom in February. So they just restarted all of this, and they're going to hear the same thing this summer, whether you're at our pool, our environment, it doesn't matter where you are. The whole goal is to create a safe network of public spaces a child can go to.
Mary Beth, when I started the episode, and I do this at every episode, regardless of the subject, I talk about the why question. And the reason we have this channel is that if your mission and vision is important, then you need to be thoughtful about strategy and leadership. I can't think of a better example than what you've just been talking about. I mean, the mission and vision that you're trying to do is to build both healthy communities and healthy individuals, to help these young people grow up and learn all the things that they need to know to really have a good life. And it doesn't matter what they do from then on, if they are connected to the community and are responsible and safe and respectful and connected to all the people and institutions around them, their life will be so rich. What you're doing is so important. And then the strategy piece is this thoughtful, evidence-based approach that you've taken to the overall strategy of prevention. And then your leadership is figuring out what your agency can do to fit into that larger effort in your community. I mean, this is beautiful. It's textbook. So for all of you consuming this content today, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. And the reason to do that is that it helps others find this content. So I in awe of Mary Beth and all that she's doing, I think if you've listened this far, you are too. And so let's share this content, and that will then promote the conversation, spread the ideas, and hopefully do more good in the world as we do that. So Mary Beth, thank you so much. Thank you for all the amazing things that you're doing in Kettering. Is certainly fortunate to have your leadership, but really you are leading the way nationally in so many ways. I mean, the fact that you were the only park and rec agency at this Midwest conference focused on this prevention approach speaks volumes to the leadership that you are providing and taking on, big, bold issues and figuring out how to make progress on them. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Paul.